Fair, accurate, to the point. The 10 o'clock news on KRTV starts right now.
How do you know you're safe from sex offenders in your neighborhood? I'm Tara Grimes on special assignment, and coming up, I'll tell you how police are tracking them.
It's great to have you with us on this Thursday night, first at 10.
For about every 393 people living in Great Falls, one is a sexual offender.
The Great Falls Police Department reports the best way to keep the public safe from these sex offenders is to keep them informed and make sure they're where they say they are. KRTV's Tara Grimes joins us to tell us more about how they do that.
In the area that I'm at right now near Central Avenue West and 9th Street, there are several sex offenders living nearby. Now, I know that because I'm on the Montana Department of Justice's website, which tells you exactly where every sex offender is living in this town. You may wonder how up-to-date this registry is. Well, some communities like to send out letters to register these sex offenders, but here, there's one man that goes door to door.
We stay busy. I mean, we get address changes and updates daily.
As a Great Falls police detective, Art Shalin is tasked with one of the department's toughest jobs: keeping tabs on Cascade County's 170 sexual offenders.
That's what this is all about. Public safety, keeping these guys compliant so you know where they're at.
Each sex offender is assigned a tier level, 1, 2, or 3. 3 being the highest risk of reoffending and 1 with the lowest risk. Not only does it give the public an idea of how likely they are to commit another crime, it also determines how often they are checked upon.
Tier level 3s need to be checked every 3 months. Tier level 2 sex offenders once every 6 months, and tier level 1 offenders, or non-offenders as they call it, once a year.
Shalin admits, however, he's even more dedicated than that. Many times he sees the tier 3 sex offenders weekly and the others every few months. And while there are no restrictions on where a sex offender can live, a judge can impose certain restrictions if they see fit.
I don't want to say it's rare, but we do have those restrictions and we attach them to their registration jackets. It's not very, I would say probably 2% maybe.
Okay.
For Tier 3 sex offender David Naff, without the restrictions, he tries to remain vigilant to be aware of his surroundings.
I'm never going to reoffend again. That is the thing I keep reminding myself every day. Not just once a month, 2 or 3 times, or every 3 months or whatever. Every day I get up, I remind myself of where I can go and where I shouldn't go, even though I can go. So I stay away from those areas.
Naff spent nearly 21 years behind bars, accused of sexually assaulting and raping an 11-year-old girl. He lives in this home at Big Sky Trailer Park, an adult-only mobile home park which houses several sex offenders.
To have them all in one spot, I think personally is a pretty good idea. You know, it makes it easy for the police department and the authorities to keep track of them. And, you know, like Art said, it keeps them where they're kind of self-policing themselves, and you got somebody else always kind of keeping an eye out over the top of them to see, you know, make sure that they've got their ducks in a row and that they're going in the right direction.
Although it's easy for police to track the offenders living here, sometimes it takes more than a simple knock on the door to locate others. Occasionally, Shalin says they provide an incorrect address.
A lot of times I find out it's an ex-girlfriend or an ex-roommate, or it's an abandoned house. And so next thing you know, if I can't get a hold of them by their phone, if they gave me a bad phone number, which a handful of them, they do, you know, they want to be anonymous. I'll get a warrant for their arrest and we'll wind up seeing them again.
He says it's a case of talking to those in the area and receiving tips to track them down and bring them back into compliance. If an offender doesn't register within 3 days of relocating from a different town in Montana, they could be sentenced up to 5 years and charged up to $10,000. There are also new laws recently instated to keep a close eye on those moving in from out of state.
We now have a law, thanks to the help of this office and others, that requires offenders who leave for 10 days to re-register wherever it is that they've moved to. That was a loophole that they took advantage of.
Fox says they also collect DNA samples from those who move in from out of state.
And that will help us to solve cold crimes. It'll also act as a deterrent.
Thank you.
As for Shalin, he says he will continue going door to door tracing these sex offenders because it's the relationship he builds with them that he says keeps them out of trouble and keeps the community safe.
It's the sex offenders you don't know that are out there. Those are the ones to be afraid of.
Now, you may remember just last month, the Montana Department of Justice worked with the local authorities to bring dozens of sex offenders into compliance. Great Falls is the first of many Montana communities that will see this type of crackdown. Reporting in Great Falls, Tara Grimes, MTN News.
Thank you, Tara. Time now to check out some incredible video we just got from Big Sky, Montana. Workers there are preparing the slopes for the season's grand opening next week. Over a foot of snow fell on the resort yesterday, but crews are using snow guns to ensure a smooth ride for skiers and boarders. Meteorologist Mike Rollins is here now. Mike, Showdown also saw a little bit of snow yesterday, but is there more on the way?
Well, I think as we move through the next couple of days, Tim, we are looking at some very dry conditions around Big Sky country and most of the Pacific Northwest. This is our snowfall forecast through Thanksgiving Day at 5 o'clock. You see snow in the desert Southwest and across the eastern half of the U.S., but around Montana, just a few flakes here and there down toward Bozeman and also right along the U.S.-Canadian border, but I'm not expecting any major storms to come through between now and Thanksgiving. Live Storm Tracker Doppler here is scanning clear across the state, but we still have the chilly temperatures. It's 9 right now in the state capital, 7 in Glasgow, 20s, Cut Bank, Great Falls, and in Havre. Temperatures tonight headed down to the single digits and teens. It will be chilly once again. You'll want the jacket as you step outside Friday morning, but we are going to be warming up as we get into the weekend. I'll have your complete forecast in just a couple of minutes. Shannon, Tim?
We'll see you then. Thanks, Mike. In the last 5 years, the Polaris Project has received 16 tips of human trafficking with high or moderate level indicators in Montana.
This is according to a recent study taken from data at the National Human Trafficking Resource Center hotline. The study cites numbers over the last 5 years. In total, the hotline received over 9,200 reports of potential trafficking cases. Over 60% of those were sex trafficking cases. Over 20% were reports of labor trafficking. The states with the highest number of reports in order are California, Texas, Florida, New York, and Illinois. A Senate fight over judicial nominees ended with a sweeping rules change allowing President Obama's nominees for everything but the Supreme Court to be confirmed with a simple majority vote.
CBS's Tara Merchner has the latest from Washington.
Questions on the motion, the clerk will call the roll.
52 Senate Democrats voted to limit the ability of Senate Republicans to block President Obama's nominees, a major change in Senate rules known as the nuclear option.
The threshold for cloture on nominations, not including those to the Supreme Court of the United States, is now a majority.
Majority Leader Harry Reid said it was the only way to end gridlock.
This is about making Washington work regardless of who's in the White House or who controls the Senate.
Republicans call this a distraction.
As I indicated, I want to be talking about something else too. If I had to defend dogs getting insurance while millions of Americans lost theirs.
Thursday's vote marks the biggest change to Senate rules in decades, limiting the ability of the minority party to block presidential nominees.
This isn't obstruction on substance, on qualifications. It's just to gum up the works.
GOP leader Mitch McConnell called it a sad day in the history of the Senate.
Say to my friends on the other side of the aisle, you'll regret this, and you may regret it a lot sooner than you think.
If control of the Senate shifts, McConnell's party will have the upper hand. Tara Merchner for CBS News, Washington.
Both Senators John Tester and Max Baucus voted to change the Senate rules today.
Governor Steve Bullock awards nearly $250,000 from the Treasure State Endowment Program to replace 2 bridges. The 2 bridges are near Augusta, the Sun Canyon Road Bridge and the Flat Creek Road Bridge. The 2 bridges are used by residents and ranchers as well as recreational traffic traveling to Gibson Reservoir. Designs will be completed for the bridges by the Lewis and Clark County Public Works Department and will likely be constructed when the weather warms up in the spring. Well, a Manhattan man's legal troubles are generating a lot of buzz on social media.
52-year-old Ernie Teleta was arrested Monday and is accused of fishing without a license and then resisting arrest. Tuesday, he appeared before a judge via video from the Gallatin County Detention Center. It was standing room only as close to 18 friends and family members filed into the courtroom as Teleta appeared subdued and respectful before the Justice of Peace. And this court hearing went very differently from a previous appearance earlier this month, where he and Three Forks City Judge Wanda Dersch got into a heated exchange.
If you touch me, you will violate natural law. Do not come near me. I am protected by the land. Do not tell me to shut up. I am the living natural man, and my voice will be heard.
That hearing ended after both the judge and defendant walked out. Extra law enforcement officers were in court Tuesday, and the proceedings happened without any outbursts. The judge set his bond at $500, and the next court hearing is in January. Now, since the video of his outburst was posted on Tuesday, it's received more than 125,000 YouTube views.
An area trucking center will soon be relocating. The Great Falls International Airport has announced that I-State Truck Centers will be its newest tenant. 7 acres of airport property will be part of a deal to help diversify the airport's income. The announcement came this afternoon with a few short words from Airport Director John Faulkner. An I-State representative signed the lease agreement to make things official. According to Faulkner, this move is part of Great Falls becoming a major logistics hub in Montana. He also hopes that today's agreement will be the first of many deals to help develop some of the airport's unused land.
The airport has over 400 acres of developable land, and as we speak, we're completing the expansion of our utilities that opens up several hundred of those acres for ready development sites.
Now, the truck center is moving from its current location on Vaughn Road. Still to come, temperatures will be climbing in the coming days.
Mike's back to show us what the holiday week looks like in Storm Tracker weather.
Reporting you can trust with Tim McGonigal and Shannon Newth. Storm Tracker weather with Mike Rollins and Richie Melby with sports. This is the 10 o'clock news on KRTV. Fair, accurate, to the